535 tons of gold was smuggled out of Africa in 2020.
In just a few weeks, 3 nations in Africa's Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, delivered a historic blow to the global economic order. With bold and coordinated moves, they reclaimed control over their most strategic natural resources, gold and uranium. The message was clear and unapologetic. Our land, our wealth, our rules. What began as local policy decisions quickly turned into a seismic geopolitical shift, stunning international markets and sending shockwaves through global power centers. It started in Burkina Faso, where the military-led government in Ouagadougou issued an emergency decree nationalizing several major gold mines, including some of the most productive sites previously operated by Canadian firm Endeavour Mining. But this wasn't just about ownership. The decree mandated that all gold must now be refined and processed within the country. No more raw exports. No more shipping the wealth of the Burkinabe people abroad for foreign profit. It was a sharp break from decades of economic dependence and external control. Just days later, Mali made its move. In a surprise announcement from Bamako, the government revealed it had increased the state's mandatory stake in all mining operations from 10% to 30%. And this wasn't just for new projects. The policy was applied retroactively. Global giants like Barrick Gold were thrown into panic, as the government also demanded nearly $1 billion in unpaid taxes and royalties. This was not just about economics. Mali framed the move as a correction of historic injustice, reclaiming billions that had been siphoned away while Malians remained poor. Then came Niger, a country long known as a cornerstone in France's nuclear energy supply chain. In a stunning pivot, Niger terminated its decades-long uranium contract with French firm Uranium and suspended several other foreign licenses. Instead, Niger turned to new partners, Russia and Iran, signaling a complete geopolitical realignment. In one stroke, Niger challenged France's dominance and reshaped the nuclear energy calculus for all of Europe. The reaction from the West was immediate. Gold prices jumped. Uranium supply chains trembled. Investors in Toronto and London watched their mining stocks plummet. European analysts warned of looming uranium shortages. Western diplomats accused the Sahel governments of illegal nationalization and threatened isolation. But in the streets of Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey, the atmosphere was one of jubilation. Crowds celebrated in the thousands. Posters were plastered across walls with bold slogans: "Our uranium, our future," and "No more colonial chains." For these countries, taking back their resources is not just an economic decision, it's an act of survival. Since military juntas took power between 2020 and 2023, the Sahel has been cut off from most Western aid. France pulled its troops out. The EU suspended development programs. The US scaled back cooperation. Foreign funds dried up. But the need to pay salaries, fight insurgencies, and build infrastructure didn't go away. Resource sovereignty became a lifeline. But beyond economics lies a deeper current: ideology. These regimes are channeling Pan-Africanist and anti-colonial ideals that have long resonated with their people. They are asserting loudly and visibly that Africa will no longer be the backyard of Western corporations. Public support for these moves has been overwhelming, driven by decades of frustration. The region is rich in minerals, yet its people have remained poor. That contradiction is now being directly challenged. For too long, multinational corporations reaped the lion's share of Sahelian gold and uranium. Contracts were signed under foreign pressure with generous tax breaks, minimal local ownership, and very little value addition. Gold was extracted, shipped raw to Europe or North America, and turned into billion-dollar profits while the countries of origin begged for foreign aid. Uranium fueled Paris while children in Niger studied under open skies without electricity. Now all that is changing. Burkina Faso's insistence on domestic refining is not just about value. It's about symbolism. A gold bar refined in Ouagadougou carries more than weight. It carries dignity. Mali's push for greater state stakes means that more profits stay home. Niger's uranium shift breaks the back of a system that had kept it shackled to one buyer in one direction for decades. The international fallout is just beginning. Western investors are reassessing the risk of doing business in the Sahel. Some are pulling out. Others are demanding arbitration. But even as the West retreats, new players are stepping in. Russia has quickly emerged as a key partner. In Mali, Russian technicians are helping upgrade gold processing facilities. In Niger, Moscow is offering nuclear infrastructure support. Iran is negotiating uranium deals. And China is expanding its footprint, providing infrastructure loans and technical expertise without the political strings attached to Western aid. This pivot to non-Western partners is no accident. It reflects a strategic calculation by Sahelian leaders. The old alliances have failed them. France's military operations didn't stop terrorism. Western aid didn't bring industrialization. The time has come, they argue, to try a different path. One built on self-reliance, diversified partnerships, and above all, control. That control is crucial not just for development but for security. Insurgencies continue to plague the Sahel, and many are financed through the illicit gold trade. By formalizing mining, cutting off illegal routes, and asserting state dominance over production zones, governments hope to starve armed groups of resources. This isn't just about revenue. It's about ending the parallel war economies that have kept the region unstable. But the transition won't be easy. Questions loom large. Can these governments manage complex mining operations without the technical expertise of multinationals? Can state-owned enterprises avoid the corruption and inefficiency that have plagued them in the past? Will foreign investors ever trust the region again? These are real risks. But for many Sahelians, the greater risk is doing nothing, remaining trapped in a cycle of dependency, instability, and poverty. They argue that while the road ahead is uncertain, it is theirs to walk, and that in itself is a revolutionary step. Take gold, for example. It is not just an export. It is the backbone of entire economies. In Mali, gold is the top foreign exchange earner, outpacing even agriculture. In Burkina Faso, it accounts for nearly half of all fiscal revenue. The industry employs hundreds of thousands of artisanal miners, supports families, and sustains entire communities. Yet for years, the majority of profits left the country. That is what these governments are determined to change. And uranium? It may be more technical, but it's just as political. France's nuclear energy grid has depended on Niger's uranium for decades. Yet Niger remains one of the poorest countries in the world. The inequity is staggering. By walking away from French contracts and embracing new partners, Niger is not only demanding better terms, it is demanding respect. The broader geopolitical implications are profound. The Sahel is no longer simply a battlefield in the war on terror. It's now a battleground in the global competition for resources. And by choosing new allies, Sahelian governments are making clear that loyalty is not inherited, it's earned. France, Canada, and the US are being replaced by Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey. The rules of engagement are changing, and Africa is no longer playing defense. Already, the Alliance of Sahel States, formed by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, is exploring joint mining ventures, harmonized laws, and even a shared currency to protect against exchange volatility. This isn't just resource nationalism. It's the seed of a new regional bloc, one defined not by borders drawn in colonial offices, but by shared goals and shared struggles. Still, the challenges are immense. Technical capacity is limited, infrastructure is aging, armed groups remain active, and the risk of corruption is always present. But these nations are no longer waiting for handouts or asking for permission. They are acting. Will this bold experiment succeed? Will state control translate into economic transformation? Or will it spiral into mismanagement and renewed isolation? No one knows for sure. But what is undeniable is that the Sahel has chosen a new direction, one rooted in sovereignty, solidarity, and self-determination. For the first time in decades, the people of the Sahel are seeing their gold and uranium not as curses, but as tools of liberation. The world is watching, and history is being written, not in boardrooms in Paris or Ottawa, but in the streets of Bamako, the gold fields of Kaya, and the uranium mines of Arlit. Africa's resource revolution may just be beginning. And it starts here in the heart of the Sahel.